1UP Racing League's annual trip across the border. For the Nitro National Series, that means our one and only street course race at the Grand Prix des Trois Rivieres in southern Quebec. Welcome everyone to the 1UP Nitro National Series live coverage from DP3R. I am Devin Thayer, once again with James Delton. He'll bring you all the action. James, the points battle is starting to heat up between Fingai Saitomi and Venta for the points lead, but I think the real battle is going to be for that chase cutoff. With just 5 races to go in the regular season, guys like Braden Varga, Chris Lattimore, Hayes Green, and others, about that time to start turning up the heat if you're looking to contend in the championship in a few weeks' time.
Oh, absolutely. You really got to start putting in the effort here. If you want a chance at that chase, even just to say you were in it, you really need to light the fire, as it were, and get going. If you weren't already really working hard at it, this is the time.
And especially at a track like Trois Rivieres, where track position is everything, it is going to be essential for these chase cutoff drivers to get their way in 5 weeks' time. But with that, we can show you exactly how they line up for this week's race at Trois Rivieres. Once again, it is Eric Demax on pole in the number 16 for Venta, lining up just alongside Paul Villalobos in the 66. Just behind them, DJ Curtis starts third in the 22. He's been fast all season, and alongside him, AJ Zhao in the 98. David Meske rounds out the top 5 in the 29, and right beside him is Riley Hooper. Angel Gutierrez and Ashton Blevins line up row 4 in the 72 and 77 respectively. And rounding out the top 10 is a prize run for Jarrett Shank in qualifying. He starts right alongside Brandon Smith in the 92, and they start just ahead of Braden Varga in the 9 and Fidel Iglesias in the 81. A couple of workhorse guys in this one, James, and a couple guys who are needing good finishes to get themselves in the chase. Who've you got your eye on?
Well, I've got my eye on several drivers who we've already been keeping an eye on all season, but I'm going to be watching Shank, because that 85 team, that whole team as a whole has needed some good results. They've had the runs, they've not always had the results. There are several cases I could bring up, but I'd rather not make them feel any more down than they already are about it. I will say, and Fidel Iglesias, we talked about it in Hawaii, and the good run he had there. I'd be curious to see if he can't pull it off again here today. But there's a few others like Turisic, of course, up and down season. Breeding Green, Boston Shaw doing a good, decent qualifying effort, looking to just ride it out at the very least. There's so many others I could talk about. Cody Lamas needing a good run, needs to move up from his starting spot at 21st. But we'll be talking about quite a few of these throughout the day, so I'll just stop myself there.
Wanted to also know Cody Lamas, he is starting in 21st. He's going to have to work his way up if he needs to make his way into the playoffs. After Oswego, he jumped out of it, unfortunately, but at a track like this, he's really got to turn the heat up here. And same with Cameron Lessard, who is currently 10th in points. He starts 26th, so if anybody's able to get ahead of him, they could even get themselves further into the championship, especially if that 54 has a bad day. But with that, we're ready to bring you the coverage from Trois Rivieres. Don't go anywhere. The 1UP Nitro National Series one and only event in Canada is coming up. Set to go green in the tight and twisting streets of Trois Rivieres. It's Paul Villalobos and Eric Demax bringing it down to the green flag. 2 Chevrolet drivers on pole. We'll see how things shake out as the green flag waves in Canada.
Clean, fairly even start between Demax and Villalobos, though it looks like Demax, looking to keep the momentum up from Oswego, is trying to do something, although Villalobos himself with some momentum.
He's got the inside lane. He might put Demax out wide here, and he does. He's going to try to get ahead of that 16 on this first lap, and he's going to do it. That puts the 66 in the lead. Meanwhile, DJ Curtis has cleared the 98 of AJ Zhao for third, and David Meske has secured his top 5 spot in the 29.
And right now, what you're looking at is what you want to see, or if you're Paul Villalobos and your team is Robbers Racing, is get out of the front early and try to get going and take off. But we know Demax, he wants another win to go with the one he just got.
Brandon Smith has moved up to 9th ahead of Jared Shank. Now Jared Shank is under pressure from Fidel Iglesias, or he's going to try to get to the inside of Brandon Smith to get back past that 29 car. Meanwhile, up front, Ashton Blevins trying to get ahead of Angel Gutierrez in the 72. That right now, I believe, is for 7th place between 72 and 77. Right behind them, Jared Shank, I think, is starting to fall back to Brandon Smith. And indeed, the 92 clears the 85.
Yeah, Shank not having the greatest starts, but the fact that he even got to start in the top 10 at all, he's got to feel really good about that as he deals with Iglesias back there.
And Fidel Iglesias, we know how good of a road course racer he can be. He's getting side by side with that 85 car as we focus in on 72 and 77 and focus back in on Fidel Iglesias in the 81. This team making only their 3rd start of the season. They're mostly doing the road courses, but this 81, anytime it's been out, it's been one to watch, especially with its top 10 run at Hawaii.
Oh, absolutely, and I would have to say, our friend Zachary Fitzwater, Fitzy picked a great young driver here, great talent. Could very well be in victory lane in his whenever he runs full time. It's going to be real interesting to watch his career.
Right behind them, the 9 car, Braden Varga, he's gotten up to, I believe, that is 12th place in the 9 car. Certainly a run he needs. He is currently the driver on the playoff cutoff bubble right now, so there's a few drivers you want to make sure he finishes ahead of, Cameron Lazar being one of them, who is still mired in the back, and especially Hayes Green, that 25 car, that is the 9's closest competitor right now in points, so if the 9 can finish ahead of that 25 car, I think that would be really good for him in his point situation.
It would be really, really good as we see the top 2 right now have a bit of a gap between them, but there's quite a few drivers, like I said, that I've been watching that we talked about the bubble and their hopes of being able to make the chase. Time is dwindling down. They have a little more time than the Truck Series, which this weekend is off at Canadian Tire, but there's not much more time, so they still got to keep putting every bit of effort they can into it.
Right now, Ashton Blevins is trying to get past Riley Cooper. I believe he's one of those guys who's also needing a good points position. That 77, I believe right now is mired back in the points, or actually he's 6th place in points. So this is a good run for him. We're also watching Brandon Smith, who's now all over the back of Angel Gutierrez in the 72, trying to get a position away from him.
Yeah, Smith's been having a great season. Running top 10 right now is nothing to be ashamed of or upset at, but with the runs they've been having and the victories they've been getting, I would say it might be slightly disappointing to be in an FPM car at the back of the top 10.
Also notice how he's turned it in the 57. He's trying to catch up to the 9.25 here. He really needs to have a good run. In fact, he's been having good runs lately, which has got him up there in the point standings, but not enough to get to the chase yet. And time is running out for that 57, so those guys have really got to go.
And notice back there behind Terzic, Boston Shaw was able to get by Nick Breeding after some point after the start. So again, Shaw trying to just make something of a tough situation for that 31 crew. Of course, well documented what happened there, but I will say he's doing everything he can to at least get some good finishes out of what he's capable of doing as we continue watching the Blevins here.
Yeah, Blevins tried to make a move on Riley Hoover in the 77, got to his back bumper, but wasn't quite able to make the pass. Like we said before, track position is everything here, so if you got to run the guy and can't do anything with it, it's gonna cost you certainly heading to get deeper and deeper into the run, and especially as these tires wear out. There's no planned pit stops for this race this time around, so it's gonna be interesting to see how things shake out and how these guys try to handle themselves, especially at the midpoint of the race when entire length is starting to go.
Yeah, that's going to be real interesting to watch because I'm sure it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Tires and road courses, having grip is a very important thing because you start losing grip, you start sliding around, and if you start sliding around, and especially if something else starts going wrong, like somebody bumps you too hard, you might find yourself in a barrier.
We've seen that before at Trois Rivieres, especially in last year's race. I'm sure Angel Gutierrez knows that like it happened yesterday, so I'm sure he's hoping for a better result here, especially as he's holding off Brandon Smith. The 72 car has been doing really good since around Oswego when they had a good run there. Angel Gutierrez mentioned before, he's hoping to keep up at least a top 15 run in every race, and so far he's been able to do that.
Yeah, that's just what you need as we can look back at the aforementioned Boston Shaw. Just doing what he needs to do right now, running 15th place as we look further back in the field. Looking at Nathan Stapleton, had a really good run going at Oswego, and well, we know what happened there between him and his teammate Cody Lamas. They'd rather forget last weekend for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure both of these full-time Fitzwater cars are just trying to have at least decent runs here after the disaster that was Oswego, and we do see Cody Lamas back there behind David Richardson in the 10 car, but Nathan Stapleton's one of those guys who's been having real good runs lately, but seems to have fallen off a little bit, and if Oswego was any indication, even if he is running well, anything can happen really with this team.
Yeah, for him to be back here in the far back half of the top 20, behind several cars that lately he's been able to be ahead of, that's got to make him feel a little bit tough, well, a little bit down, but it's also got to be making him feel motivated. Same with his teammate here.
Yeah, Cody Lamas has been one of those guys who we've seen he can have good runs. In fact, he has 2 wins this season, but really since we came back, that 48 has really not had the speed that we're used to seeing out of that 48 team. But there's still time left in the season. I'm sure they can find something in that 48 car, and we know Cody Lamas has been really hungry for another good finish for a while.
Yeah, as we were watching here, talking about Lamas, we were also looking at the 54 there, Lassard, just right along here, the 33 and 13. Going back through the whole field here, just a bit quick here, some drivers you don't expect to see, and unfortunately for many team owners and drivers, some that you kind of have come to expect to see back there, like the 11 and a couple others, but there's always chances for improvement. Road courses are just to ride around and hope you survive, and if you can survive it, whether you end up in victory lane or not, I'd say it's still some kind of victory.
I want to give a shout out, by the way, to this 38 Wyatt Junkman and congratulate him for that top 10 run at Oswego, which nobody expected for that 38 team, but they seem to have gone back to the norm, but I'm sure Wyatt Junkman won't be disappointed with having the spotlight on him, at least briefly at Oswego.
Oh, absolutely. Jet Bowling Racing has needed some good things across the board, so that top 10 charge was definitely needed from Junkman, and I'm sure it would be great to see that team do it regularly once again. Maybe even be able to compete with a fellow Ford team like FPM.
Looking back up front is currently Paul Villalobos still leading in this 66 car. He's been out front since the start of the race. Eric Demax has been able to put the pressure on him, but so far the 66 has not capitulated, and he also has not found the wall yet, which I'm sure he's happy about. And right behind them in 3rd place, GJ Kurth in the 22. He's still trying to extend his points lead, but all these guys are making it difficult for him, especially AJ Zhao, especially if AJ Zhao and David Messing can get to him. They're currently 4th and 5th respectively. It's come to expect all these guys, frankly, to be in the top 5 every week, and they've shown that they certainly haven't lost their stride yet, especially Eric Demax and DJ Curtis, who are 2nd and 3rd, as we're watching Riley Cooper in the 69, who is currently in 6th, Hashim Levin 7th, Angel Gutierrez 8th, Brandon Smith 9th, and Jarek Shank holding on to a top 10 at the moment, but under pressure from Adela Gracias in the 81.
Yeah, I'm sure his team owner would be very happy there with Shank's team owner, that is, who would be very happy with this result if he can hang on, but we still have a third of roughly a little over a third or 2/3 of the race left to go, so he's got to hope that he doesn't get passed by the 81 and the 9 here, but doing a good job.
Riley Hooper, by the way, that third car at Roberts Racing, we haven't seen much of him in the top 10 lately. He's been more in the top 15, but this 69 car having a good run today, and the 69 team in general, they've just quietly been there, especially when we go to the super speedways and the road courses. That 69 car just appeared to be there whether anybody expected it or not.
Yeah, it's good to see all the Roberts Racing cars doing really good, even if really good for Hooper is a top 15 or a barely top 10 on an occasion. At least it shows that 69 has some speed, and Who knows? Maybe one day he could surprise us and steal a win from somebody who's a regular in the top 5.
We'll once again focus on Braden Barger and Haynes Green, who are separated by 1 point in the championship right now. Looking up for them, they might be trying to take at least Braden Barga might be trying to take advantage of any chaos that might brew here between the 85 and the 81, because that nine car, I'm sure he wants to get away from that 25 at some point, especially since he's his closest competitor in the championship.
And I'm sure he'd rather, not only would he rather not get passed by 25, but I don't think the 57 or the 31 either would be helpful. I know Shaw is not a competitor for the bubble, but that is a point that is points lost if he were to fall, especially if he were to fall back to where Shaw is right now and behind him.
And here is Jared Shank in that 85 car. That they might that one racing team might be one of those teams that might not perform very well, but they've had their fair share of runs, and this 85 car especially, with the runs that he had at Charlotte and now here at Trois Rivieres, I'm sure they're not going to complain about their season when it comes down to it, especially because this 85 car, he's been quietly up there, at least trying his best to get his fair share of good finishes.
It's not been for a lack of trying. It's just the finishing results aren't always there. It's kind of one of those things that several teams, which unfortunately this year my team included, has an understanding of. So every position that you can gain, every time you can get like a surprise top 10, a top 15, you take those in stride and you look forward to the day that those are your worst days. Because teams like Fidel Saitomi, like Roberts, like Venta, those are typically their worst days, at least for their best drivers on the team, which right now, FPM has all 3 of them right up here in the top 10.
And let's talk a little bit about who I like to call Wisconsin man, Paul Villalobos. He didn't have a flashy start to the season, but he started getting flashy lately, especially with the runs he's had at Road America and Milwaukee. Ironically, both of which were in Wisconsin, which is why I call him the Wisconsin man. But no matter what kind of car he has, no matter what kind of situation he put in, he just seems to find himself up there. Unfortunately, what happened at Oswego wasn't really something that he could control. But other than that little blemish, he's had a really good season in that 66.
Oh, absolutely, and that's off the heels of a decent final season in trucks in the Turbo Truck Series, and got some success. Could have had a little bit more, but some things that he'd rather forget happened. Namely, North Wilkesboro, the fuel mileage. But he still showed that he's capable, and he's continuing to do it now. And it's safe to say, I don't think Roberts Racing is going to be letting him go anytime soon.
One thing I wanted to mention, by the way, something I've observed that we've been going through this season. FPM might be starting to go on a downturn, especially this 22 car of DJ Curtis. FPM has not had a win since Hawaii, I believe, when DJ Curtis won that race. Ironically, it had a blow up by Eric Demax, so I'm sure he's hoping for another one today as the 16 tries to chase down the 66. But this 22 car has got to be sweating bullets, because he's not had as good a run as some of his teammates have, or especially as some of these Chevrolet drivers have. I'm sure he's not loving that, especially since he's holding the points lead. But with every race, that points lead between him and some of these Chevrolet drivers might be shrinking.
Yes, and I'm sure that he'd really start sweating if the other manufacturers start figuring it out. You know, like Toyota, Honda, Mercedes. If they start figuring it out, granted, it might be a little late for 2 of those, but it shows that FPM's not infallible. It's a reminder that no matter how strong a start you can have to a season, something can always happen, and next thing you know, you're having to fight for every point.
And if you have subpar performances like this, especially in the chase, not gonna be good for those guys, especially since the points reset is gonna bring everybody back together. And if these FBM guys find themselves on the back foot, well, they could find themselves out of a championship, especially if these Chevrolet drivers continue the pace they have. And we're looking at Brandon Smith in the 92, who's not been the third guy. If anything, he's been the second guy. But lately, hadn't had as good runs as his teammates. But right now, doing really good here. And he especially had a really good run at Oswego, where he won his heat race and actually contended for the win at the end.
Yeah, he's just doing everything he can to try to preserve his positioning in the points right now. And I'm sure, like many others, is looking forward to getting out of this stretch of road courses and other tracks, and would love to get back on tracks that, while yes, they are performing pretty well here, they would love to see the tracks that they had the most success at return.
We just saw Fidel Iglesias on the back of Jared Shank again for the top 10 position. It seems like that one turn back there, I believe it would turn 5. That's one of the big passing zones here at Trois Rivieres, but if practically qualifying is any indication, all these guys don't really seem to be figuring it out, with these cars especially, how to get a good run into that corner. In fact, I believe Fidel Iglesias demonstrated it there. You don't really want to run into the back of the guy in front of you, but you also don't really want to give up that position. So all these guys end up having to swerve out of the way, which definitely cost them time throughout the rest of the lap.
It's hard to make passes in certain areas where you don't know if you can set up right, or sometimes you think you can set up right and then something happens and next thing you know you're having to try it all over again. It can be frustrating, as we see Gutierrez trying to make a move on Blevins, but it looks like the 77 had a better run off the turn.
Yeah, try to take advantage of Blevins having to go wide in that corner, but the 77 was able to keep it on track just in front of the 72, so that's how he was able to retain that position. Brandon Smith is definitely hunting all these guys down, though, in that 92. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get past one of these guys anytime soon, but Angel Gutierrez, we've heard the team owner of Roberts Racing say that this is their main guy, this 72 car. And Angel Gutierrez has really picked up the pace as of late. And we saw it at Oswego, the 92 tried to make a move on him. This 72 car knows how to get top 10s weekly. And Angel Gutierrez especially has really been pushing himself to do better, especially with his teammate Paul Villalobos having 2 wins and right now on track to get a 3rd.
Yeah, this whole team, Roberts Racing, at least at Nitro and Turbo Truck competition, has been really good because they've got wins in both. Granted, the wins in trucks have been with that driver rotation number 72 truck, which, you know, that's still a good deal, and their 66 truck over there has continued to show the momentum that Villalobos left it off with before when he moved up here to Nitro to continue his momentum. So I think that so far, as we look back here at all the other drivers, Roberts Racing as a whole is having a real good time, at least in the 2nd and 3rd tier series.
Yeah, Roberts Racing as a whole, as they demonstrated last season, has really been a good team, really in all 3 series especially. I can think of Miles Mashburn in that 72, who is the owner of that team. He contended for a championship last year. He's certainly a good driver and certainly a good team owner, especially to these guys. Look back once again at Fidel Iglesias in the 81, who still hasn't been able to find a way past the 85 despite his best efforts.
Yeah, then a quick little note back to the Roberts Racing. I owe them an apology for neglecting to mention that they have had success in Superstar competition as Iglesias goes wide. There, that was. If he was trying to set up Shank for another pass, I think he lost all hope with that this time around.
I think he might have tried to turn in, and the front wheel just didn't want to turn in for him in that 81 car, especially since it looked like he was about to slide into the 85, which he avoided doing, but that's definitely going to kill his momentum, so he's got to set it up all over again for the rest of the lap. If he wants to pass into that corner in particular, and he better not look now. But Braden Varga in that 9 car, he's been there and he's been waiting for his opportunity.
Yeah, well, he might have to wait just a little bit longer. But if Iglesias has another wide turn, I think he might be losing his hopes of stealing a top 10 finish here. But for now, he's hanging strong there, trying to figure out a way to get by Shank.
Ashton Blevins once again trying to set up a move on this 69 car. He's sandwiched right now between two of the aforementioned Robert Racing cars. We're going to turn 5. He might be trying to set up another move, but he goes wide once again. Angel Gutierrez able to get a nose under him, but not much there for that 72 car take, and he has to get back in line as we go into the hairpin.
Yeah, fortunately, it just didn't work out there. So it's something we've been seeing this entire race as we're well past halfway now. Actually, about to approach the 2/3 mark, and this has been the story of the day. Some people can try to pass and make it work, and others, well, as the race goes on, it gets harder to do so because tire wear is certainly playing a factor by this point.
With how narrow the track is, track position is absolutely playing its role here as we kind of expected. Especially with these top guys who know they can make passes, but really seems like their opportunity is starting to slip away bit by bit as we get later in this run.
Yeah, you mentioned how narrow the track is in spots. It's like it's not really a fair comparison to compare this track to, say, Canadian Tire where the trucks are this weekend, or for the Road 1 with the Superstar cars this weekend. They've got more space to work with, but they've also got more space to make bigger mistakes. So for these guys and gals to be able to come in here and say, we're going to race and we're going to see what we can make of it, and so far not have any incidents, I'd say it's been a pretty good day so far for everybody, even all the way back to 42nd.
Yeah, everybody pretty much settled into their positions, and I'm sure no matter what, these guys are going to be happy that this race is over, especially these guys in the back here. It looks like Justin Henley had to make an extra pit stop in that 33 car. He finds himself behind the leaders right now as we look back here at this 33 car. Not really sure what happened to this 33 as we look back through the field. And James, I think someone's missing in the top 5 here. I believe David Meske, he might be on pit road here as we look back here, and indeed he is. That 29 car appeared to have a failure.
That's not good. I don't know what happened. We're gonna have to find out later, soon enough. But that's definitely not what Jeffrey Finguy wanted to see from one of his cars.
Not what David Meske needed either. He's 3rd in points, and he knows these Chevrolet teams are closing in on him, especially this 98 and 16 cars who are 2nd and 4th, and he might be going behind the wall. That team of reporting the engine just blew up on them. So this 29 car, I believe, is done for the day. That's definitely going to be good, though, for some of the rest of these guys. For about 5th on back, as Bradley Cooper now enters the top 5. And look at that, Fidel Iglesias didn't really have to do anything. He finds himself in the top 10 spot.
And now he's going to have to hope that Varga doesn't have anything for him, and so he may still try to go for Shank just to have that little extra cushion in the event that the 9 does have some final thing here in the final 10 laps. But quick thing back on Justin Henley, as we quickly caught on what was going on with Meske. That has not been the greatest return to Nitro for Henley, but we offered him a ride so he wouldn't be without one. We needed a driver, and hopefully, after we get past the road course stretch, everything will turn around at least a little bit for him. Just like I know Meske would love for things to turn around and be gone from this place.
Henley, I believe, had his best outing at Oswego, where he actually led a lap in his heat race and finished inside the top 25. So that 33 car, even if this is a blemish on their season, it certainly hasn't been that bad in the grand scheme of things. A return for the 33. As we look back here, here's Fidel Iglesias. Now we're in the top 10 spot. He's still trying to find a way past the 85 and trying to hold off that 9 car of Braden Varga. And I think Braden Varga especially is going to be wanting that top 10 spot, not only for the accolades, but also it puts him one spot ahead of Jared Shank, who is still behind still right behind them. Falling back a bit, but I'm not sure if that 25 is still going to have something before the end of the day.
Green there would be well, he's got a little bit of work to do. Last interval I saw, there was a big gap between him and the 9. So yeah, it's going to take I think right now it might take a miracle or a big mistake by Varga, which we don't see many of those. So I think I'll just have to wait until we move on to the next race out, which I believe is supposed to be Indianapolis.
Yeah, Indy's going to certainly be a fun one, and I couldn't help but notice, but that 85 car is getting closer to his Ford companion, 92. He might have something to say about that 92 before the end, even if it isn't going to be for a top 10 spot, which these guys are already in the top 10. I'm sure that 85 is certainly not going to complain about getting an extra spot, especially past one of the best, the 92 of Brandon Smith.
Yeah, and especially if he keeps having trouble getting past Gutierrez and others ahead, it's looking like there's a little, well, at parts of the track at least, there's a little bit of a short freight train forming here between these 4 here, starting with Hooper and then ending with Smith. But who knows? We might see a little bit of a shuffle here as the laps wind down, but I wouldn't count on there being much without something major happening.
We did get something major, but it might not have been major enough with that 29 car having to stop on track. I believe he actually had about a 10-20 second gap to the now 5th place car, Bradley Hooper, before his failure. So that's probably why we missed it. He was basically in no man's land when he had it blow up, but certainly not something these guys are going to complain about. And especially with this 85, he just seems to be getting faster and faster every lap. Maybe he dropped back so that he could have something toward the end of this race. And I'm sure especially that 85 will want to get past the 92 of Brandon Smith just to say that yes, he beat the 92 car.
Yeah, that'd certainly be a story. That'd be a win in and of itself, even if it doesn't end with a checkered flag and a trophy in victory lane. It would certainly be a victory in that team's own right.
We look from above here at some of these gaps, which they would normally be pretty good gaps for making a pass in, but not this track, especially with how narrow it is. And I'm sure that this view above would be a great demonstration of what's happening here at turn 5. We see a 77 trying to get a little closer to the 69, but just wasn't able to find anything there. In fact, he might have been a little too far back. Maybe without Glazer having the better demonstration, you can see these guys can't get close to each other, but especially toward the end of the corner when you're the closest. But if you can't set up for a pass at the end of the corner or at the beginning of the corner, you're probably not making that pass at all.
Yeah, and I can't help but looking at the intervals here as we look at these drivers. The gap from 1st to 10th is so massive right now, even though because Villalobos and Demax, they're beyond in their own zip code right now. I think they've gone like 3 zip codes away. So this is an impressive run by both of them, and they both want to continue their momentum. It's just a matter of who's going to end up in victory lane as we continue to watch these guys.
This might be the fastest we've seen a 66 and a 16 car together all season long. They've basically gapped the rest of the field. The 3rd and 4th especially also has gapped their competitor by almost 20 seconds at this point. If we look at the 52 of Yanis Terzic, he's been on a bit of a resurgence this season, although some of his finishes he would love to forget about, especially that Hawaii incident with Brandon Smith. But he's been quietly finding top 10s now, and if he wants to get into the chase, he's running out of time to do it. He's had a good view of Hayes Green in the 25. He might be trying to get past him before the end, which would be great for this 57 team, who's really needed this good run.
And again, I'll reiterate another good run by the 31 Boston Shaw as we continue to praise Terzic, not discount anything. He's been on quite the run lately, and that's big for him, and it's got to be a big confidence booster. But there's a lot of drivers that have been able to have some confidence boost finishes and results lately and runs that it just proves that they're not just here to ride around.
Especially looking behind these guys, there's Nick Breeding in 99 currently holding on to a top 15 spot. Have Bree Blair in the 5. Those two have been quietly finding top 15s all season. Nick Breeding, especially in Chili's car, he's been uncharacteristically consistent. I would say, especially for that Dodge team, but they've been getting the finish that they need to at least hold on to a chase spot, if not contend for one.
Yeah, Blair, I definitely got to give credit for put a solid effort in at Oswego in her heat, and then tried to do something in the race. She had the speed, just couldn't quite complete everything she was looking for here. As we can look at Shaw, who's just quietly running around and like pretty much everybody except for Mesky, unfortunately. It's been an uneventful day, which like I said, that's a little win for everybody who doesn't end up in victory lane if they could come out of this thing with an intact car.
Yeah, this 6-place battle is actually getting closer, and it's now basically 7 cars now with the 85 making its way up towards these guys. He's still got the 81 to fight off though, and this 81 car is now closer, but I don't think he's going to be able to set up the pass here yet. Nope, there goes that 81 car wide into the corner. But he's been able to get up to these guys, this 85 car, so I would say this team has definitely got the speed. They just need to find the opportunity to find them, and the 85 definitely is finding one today.
Yeah, and again, I think they're going to have their own little celebration, because even if it's not a victory lane celebration, it's going to feel like a victory just because of where they were able to finish, which, again, reiterate, that one racing team needs some good runs.
We're getting a report, by the way, that I believe Chris Lattimore in the 3 car is experiencing problem with the tire. I believe he's falling back in that 3 car. He might be visiting pit road before the end of this one, but these guys who have in the top 10 and the top 5 have needed a good finisher for a while now. They're getting one here, and especially for some of these chase guys, this is just gonna reinforce that they are here to make a statement, get themselves into the championship contention, and when they get into championship contention, that will probably be a real confidence booster for some of these guys, especially if they can even contend for the championship at Chicagoland in about 5 weeks.
Oh, absolutely, because Terzich would love that as much as anyone else who's trying to fight for a chase spot. Excuse me. But it's a matter of whether or not they can perform leading up to that cutoff race. Because sometimes, and I will use the misfortune of one of my own drivers from last year in the Truck Series playoff cutoff race at Watkins Glen, you can have a great run going, and then all of a sudden something mechanical, as was the case with Rhodes Gray last year, that can ruin your chances. And as we see the white flag here between Villalobos and Demax, the fight has gotten a little closer here. But to wrap up my point so we can focus on these guys, you can have a good day going into the cutoff race and you be on the bubble, then all of a sudden a mechanical issue will take you out of it just like that. And I'm hoping that those who... It's hard to hope for everybody to make it because somebody has to miss, but I know 2 people who aren't going to miss. We're looking at it right now.
Now they're heading into turn 4 here, and I couldn't help but notice ahead of this 66 who's on his final lap and trying to coast the victory lane. He's got lap traffic in front of him, but I don't think that's going to play a part. At Demax, I believe he's ran out of opportunities in that 16 car. We're going to be heading through 5 and 6 one final time. If the 66 can get through here, I believe it's going to be home free in this 66. It's going to be a 3rd win of the season, his 2nd win on the road course. This 66, he's tempted to get away from victory lane at certain times. The misfortune of Oswego, he can finally leave that behind him as he's rounding the final corner. It'll be Paul Villalobos once again in victory lane, and he'll be taking the fight to these Venta and Fin cars once more.
Yeah. He's awakening at a very good time, and I'm sure Miles is happy about that. As we see Lattimore back there sitting on pit road. Demax put in an effort, but he's got to be proud of the fact that he was actually able to finish this one with a chance at victory. But the momentum will certainly still be huge for him.
And that 6th-place battle has not changed. It will be Riley Hoover in the 69 who holds on to that 6th-place spot, and have Ashton Blevins, Angel Gutierrez, Brandon Smith, Jared Shank, Fidel Iglesias, and Brian Varga all in that little pack. But congrats to Paul Villalobos on his third win of the season in that 66. This guy, like I said, can't seem to get away from victory lane in that 66 car. He finished just ahead of Eric Demax, who I'm sure would have loved to add this road course to his wins list, but he'll certainly take this second place run. As we see Will Parrish on pit road, look to be a similar issue to Chris Lattimore with the tires. But DJ Curtis finished in third. I'm sure he's gonna like that, but he's certainly not gonna like the Chevys finishing ahead of him as that gap ever shrinks back to his points lead. AJ Zhao lines up fourth in the 98, and like we said, Riley Hooper in the fifth place spot have Ashton Blevins, Angel Gutierrez, Brandon Smith in eighth. Jared Shank with a ninth place run, a really good job to that 85 team who finished just ahead of the 81 Fidel Iglesias, who gets another top 10 in his third start this season. James, it might not have been a very interesting race, but we certainly saw a little bit of chaos, little bit of controversy, especially with that 29 David Meske.
Yeah, that's going to be one that they're going to want to forget for sure, but it's just a singular hiccup, and I'm sure they'll be able to bounce back at some point, like right the very next race, more than likely.
We'll have to see how things shake off in the cutoffs, especially with Cameron Lessard not having a good finish. I believe he finished just inside the top 25, if not just outside it. But that, my friends, is going to do it from Trois Rivieres. We see all the cars lining up in the pit lane. From James Ellison and from myself as well, we'll leave this one behind us. We hope you all at least enjoyed a little bit of that show. But coming up next, we're gonna have a grand show for you from one of the greatest oval tracks, in fact rectangular tracks in history, at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next time from Indy.